So we have this 2010 GMC Sierra 1500 4x4 crew cab here today. It was here in May and we did a bunch of work to the four-wheel drive. He's complaining of a service stability control, service four-wheel drive message. It's not on now. I see the airbag light is on, but I believe it was on back in May. It has some crash sensor issues. His four-wheel drive apparently doesn't work. But he also said that occasionally the speedo would quit and the gauges would stop working. Kind of like there might be a network issue going on. So let's have a look at the vehicle service records. So as you can see from the history, back in May of this year, it had a brake switch fault, a misfire. I did some push rods and rocker arms on this thing because they were worn. Had a brake switch, as I mentioned, and here are the airbag codes, but we're going to scan it now and see what codes are in it now. So it's auto ID. Let's do a network scan and see what comes up. Curious as to whether there's any network fault codes. Well, his engine misfire code is here in history. He said he put some injector cleaner in the gas tank and that seemed to help. Just trying to connect to the internet and my network is down right now. We'll pick up when this gets to the end here. So it's finished doing the network scan. We got a P0300 random misfire in the engine computer, but these are the ones that bother me. Transmission computers lost communication with the ECM, lost communication with the EBCM, brake control module, another undocumented U code, CAN bus communication issues, lost communication with transfer case control module, BCM, ECM, transmission control, and then there's the airbag codes. Yes, so we do have a network problem. That would explain why the instrument cluster would go dead. It's funny that the instrument cluster has no codes in it. Keyless entry, tire pressure sensors are missing. Trailer brake, lost communication with ECM, PCM. Well, that's going to be interesting now. He did say it was running better now since he put injector cleaner in it. Let's have a look in the engine at the freeze frame data. Actually, I'm going to go into data and look at misfire data. See what the last 10 drive cycles show. See if it is truly random or if it's on one bank. Misfire on number 8 right now. It says 385 misfires on cylinder 393, 7, 230 on cylinder 8. The back two cylinders are on opposite sides of the engine. Didn't feel like it was misfiring when I drove it in. So according to this, it's counting misfires on cylinder 8 and 7 right now, and I don't feel it misfiring sitting in the cab. It also shows misfires on cylinder 1, history misfires. 57. We'll do a crankshaft variation relearn and see if that clears it up. Shouldn't need to be done, but let's do it anyways. Okay, I gotta go in the cab of the vehicle and do this. I wonder if it should be hot enough. You just drove it here. Do not let the engine over accelerate past safety fuel cutoff. throttle, wide open throttle to cut off. Let's go in and clear codes. Nice how they let you do that while it's running. Let's see if that made any difference. Honestly, didn't feel it misfiring. No, it still shows misfire in 7 and 8. Well, we'll have to have a chat with him. That's funny, it just cleared up. Wonder if it's got some valve issues, valve seats. There it is, number 2, 7 and 8, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6. Well, the misfire issue is secondary. We'll have to do some research on these U codes. So I did a network code clear. I'm going to connect the breakout box to the DLC and measure terminating resistance and look at the CAN bus signals to see what they look like. So I have the breakout box installed on the DLC and I'm looking at the network activity. The yellow trace is CAN high, the green trace is CAN L. Now it does look rather nasty, but in my experience some of these GMs are like this. Let's have a look at it with just the key on. Cleaned up significantly. There is some irregularities to the CAN signal, but that might be normal for this vehicle. I do recall chasing one of these before and it turned out to be that was somewhat normal. But we can try disabling the alternator just to make sure that it's not the charging system that's causing it. Could have a bad diode in the alternator. But I've been told it's lunchtime, so I'm going for lunch. So I left the vehicle sitting for half an hour while I had lunch. I left the driver's door open knowing the interior light would shut off after 15 minutes anyways. And the at-rest voltage on the CAN bus is 0.7 on both circuits, which I don't think I've ever seen before, but that's... We're going to disconnect the battery and check terminating resistance. So it was my scan tool that was doing it because I had my scan tool plugged in. So now it's at 0 on both CAN H and CAN L. So because it had gone to sleep, I felt it was safe to measure the terminating resistance by going across pin 6 and 14 of the DLC connector, and it reads 61 ohms. So there's not a problem with termination resistance unless it's intermittent. I'm going to restart this thing and lab scope it and disable the alternator. So that's with the alternator disconnected, but what I noticed with the alternator disconnected, according to the voltmeter here, it's still charging 13.4. So I'll have to disable the alternator output wire. Well, it's disabled now and the network signal still looks the same. As I said, that was more or less a common look, a little bit of erratic waviness to the signal on another couple of trucks that I checked of this vintage. I wish I had another one outside to compare to. So I could be chasing a ghost here. I don't want to start condemning modules, trying to figure out where that's coming from. It's even there after you shut the vehicle off. Turn the key on, it's there. And then it cleans up. I think we need to do a visual inspection of all the, maybe that terminating resistor and the connector at the ABS module. So we're going to have a look under this fuse panel in this truck. This is a very common area where problems occur due to corrosion. You can see there's a considerable amount of dust in here. It's really important that this cover be installed correctly. It was installed correctly, but the salt water tends to wick its way up along these terminals here and get into the fuse panel. So we're going to take the fuse panel out and blow out all of the electrical connections and put some Stabilitin 22A on at least some of the network wiring. Well, it turns out there's no network wiring going into this fuse panel, but we're going to clean up all these terminals just the same. Having a look at the electrical diagram, it shows after it comes out of the dash, we're going to look at this junction block under the left IP as well. It goes to X109, and that's down here, right in this area, either that connector or that connector. I can't tell which one it is by the picture. We're going to take that apart and make sure that it's clean. So this is connector X109. I've disconnected it, cleaned it out, blew it out, used some of this deoxit contact cleaner on it. I believe that tan wire with the black tracer there is one of the CAN signals. Let's see. That's from pin 14, so that would be CAN L. Yeah, I think so. And the next one right inside here is and this is on its way to the ECM and the transmission computer here. I think this is the tranny computer and this is the ECM. So we're going to put some Stabilitin 22A on those terminals inside there and reconnect them. And we're also going to have a look underneath the vehicle as well. This ground behind the left body mount is a problem area for the ABS. So we're going to be proactive and clean it anyways. I don't think that's the cause of our issue, but definitely clean that. Looking at the ABS module, the insulation seems to be compromised on the harness here. We'll have to see if there's any wires in there that are damaged. But we'll take this apart, clean it up, take the connector off the module and deox it as well. So I've taken the connector off the ABS unit, looked at those wires inside where the insulation or the tape was beaten off by the stones, and they all look good. I see that seal is out of place back inside there. I'll have to reposition that. That could allow the salt to get in there. Anyways, I've deoxidized the terminals and then put Stabilitin 22A on there. Just going to try and reposition that little seal. See that orange seal on this side? It's not in place there. So we'll get that straightened out and put the connector back together. So up above the spare tire, in a nice convenient spot, there's the fuel pump control module / trailer brake control module that has that option, and there's the connector. It's got a lock on it that you have to pull down to unlatch. Make sure you blow all the sand out of this connector and around the outside circumference of it, because it'll cause friction when you're plugging it back in. I'm going to blow this out with compressed air. You can see the 4 tan wires, 2 tan in black. Those are the CAN bus wires right there, all 4 of those. And up there is a terminating resistor, right up there, taped in the harness. If that were to short out, it would take out the entire CAN bus. So under the driver's side of the dash, just in front of the park brake pedal, is this connector cover. And behind that connector cover is a connector with all of the CAN bus wires in it. There's the 4 CAN wires, CAN in, CAN out. And then they go through this one and out through the firewall. So I've taken this apart, deoxed the terminals. We'll put some electrical enhancement liquid on the terminals and put it back together again. I don't see anything physically wrong with it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have terminal fretting. I think GM has a bulletin on this. So that's what that junction box looks like when it's installed. If you unplug these 2 harnesses and then tip the connector forward, you can get behind it fairly easily and plug the harnesses back in. Make sure the wires aren't pinched. Up in here, make sure they're not pinched. That looks good. Put the cover back on, clear all the network codes. So I just cleared all the codes, reran a network code clear, and it's saving the report So other than the airbag code, all the other computers are showing clear. We're going to take this for a road test, see if the 4x4 works and if there's any problem with the messages on the dash. The problem with this network problem is it can be intermittent, could be terminal fretting, could be oxidation at a terminal, could be one of the modules taking down the CAN bus. It's common for the airbag module to do that, but it's not doing it now, so that makes it challenging. Any intermittent problem is a pain in the you-know-what. So I just came back from about a 10-kilometer road test. The vehicle seems to run good, but yet it counts misfires on 2, 6, and 8, and on 1 and 7. Yet I don't really feel it missing. It's very, very slight. It's definitely not a dead cylinder like a spark plug wire or a plug or a coil. Let's see if it's generated any pending codes. Yeah, so it's likely going to illuminate the MIL. It's not on now, but it's a pending code, I'm sure. But as far as the CAN bus issue is concerned, no warning lights on. Four-wheel drive works, ABS works, stability control works. I'll do a network code scan again just to see if anything came back. So the only thing that came back is the 300 and the left front side impact sensor. Nothing else, no vehicle communication codes. I'm going to see if I can find a previously recorded CAN bus to see what that signal looked like. So here's one that I had in my records. This was a 2009 Chevy Silverado, and this is a CAN H on the top and CAN L on the bottom. And you can see if I zoom in on the waveform here, it does have a nastiness look into it. It's definitely not a nice square wave, and that electrical anomaly is in there in this one compared to the vehicle that I have here. I'm going to save this one for on the Verus here, but I'm going to say that that's pretty much a normal condition because this 09 Chevy didn't have a problem, and this was what I measured at the 6 and 14 at the DLC on that. So we're going to say it's normal at this point. So here's the CAN bus signals on the Verus. At an idle, you can see it looks rather dirty. Watch what happens when I shut it off. Now it cleans up beautifully. Turn the key back on, and I've got that electrical interference, which, like I said, seems to be normal. And then it comes and goes. See, it's there now. Back now, it's clean again. Turn the key on, it's there again. Now it's clean again. I don't know if that's a sign of a module going south or if that's a normal condition on this. I would expect the CAN signal to look like that. Yet it's not, doesn't appear to be affecting communication with any modules right now. I'm going to give it back to the customer because if I could spend forever trying to figure out what module, if any, is causing this. Well, the only thing I can think of doing possibly is cleaning some body grounds. Yeah, we might do that. What the hell? See, with the key on, it's perfect. Textbook, pitch perfect CAN bus signal. Turn it off, and that causes some module to wake up. Turn it back on, and then about 5 seconds later, cleans up again. Aren't network problems fun? So I cut off that negative battery cable end that's problematic on these trucks, and I put a marine lug on there, soldered copper lugs to the cables. They were a little bit oxidized. Heat shrunk them. This body ground, I added an extra ground here just in case. Can't hurt. I'll throw some black paint on here so this doesn't rust. It didn't make any difference. The network activity still looks the same. So for now, we're going to say it's probably normal, but I'm going to drive the vehicle for a day and see if it acts up.